The information discussed in this PILCast episode are merely opinions and do not constitute formal policy or legal guidance of any kind.
Hello, and welcome to another PILCast episode, the series where we discuss federal procurement innovation topics in 10 minutes or less. We guarantee it. I'm David Jablonski with the DHS Procurement Innovation Lab, and today I have a special guest with me, Clenice Wallace from the United States Forest Service. Clenice, thank you so much for joining us today. Can you introduce yourself for everybody?
Thank you, David, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Clenice Wallace. I'm a contracting officer with the Forest Service. I work in the Special Project Operations Center under Procurement and Property Services Division.
Perfect. Excellent, Clenice. Well, thank you again for being here with me today. Really appreciate it. Now, Clenice is here to share her story about using procurement innovation techniques on a recent procurement project so we can learn about our team's approach, her recommendations for everyone else looking to use procurement innovation techniques in the future. But before we dive into your requirement, Clenice, had you ever used procurement innovation techniques before this procurement?
Actually, no, David. I learned about PIL last year in 2022 when our division was really pushing innovation.
That's awesome. Okay, now, can you provide us a short overview of what your team was buying?
So it is an environmental services contract. So we worked out of FAR Part 12, which is commercial services, FAR Part 15, which is where we did our evaluation techniques. And then it's an indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity, IDIQ, 5-year contract at about $29 million. We did a total business set aside. And with the environmental services contract specifically, we're looking at site investigation activities such as post-natural disaster and illegal marijuana throughout the state of California. And one of the reasons and benefits of that is that it definitely keeps our forests, our national forests, clear for the wildlife, for the ecosystem, but it's very good for our visitors when they come there. So we definitely try to focus on those. And this is a contract that's been standing for many, many years. So this was really just a recompete of a previous contract that we had before.
Now, can you share with us your acquisition strategy for this particular requirement?
So we actually did a 2-phased approach. The first phase of this approach was technical capability, qualifications, relevant past experience. The second phase was oral presentations, where each contractor responded to some activity scenarios and provided us some unit cost for what it would be to respond to those specific scenarios.
Now, were there any techniques or procurement innovation techniques that you were excited about using before the project started?
So to be honest, the idea of doing oral presentations, what we learned about oral presentations is that it cuts down the time. It's easier to make a decision afterwards because we're not doing a long-winded evaluation process where we're reading 50 million pages. So by doing it in the virtual environment, we found that it was very unique, and I was extremely excited about that, as was the contract specialist that I worked with.
And then, so what did that look like on your end, just high level?
It is we scheduled each of the contractors for their allotted amount of time, about a 4-hour block of time.
Okay.
And in each of those blocks of time, there were a couple of things that were addressed. Number one, contractors weren't allowed to go back and talk about anything that happened under phase 1. Number two, specifically to address the scenario. And so they would go through each one. We didn't talk pricing during that time frame.
Okay.
And we would listen our team. So that included myself, the contract specialist. We also had the contracting officer representative and a couple of other folks that were technical experts in this particular field. And we all took notes and just listened to what the contractor had to say. And then after after each section of a presentation, we would have the contractor tell us, hey, we're done. And then we would go into another room in teams and we would discuss, make a decision right then and there as to whether we had additional questions. And then if the technical experts or us had additional questions, we would go back into the room, we do a question and answers, and then we would move on to the next stage.
Ooh, interesting. And when did you do your evaluation for each oral presentation session?
So after the 4 hours was done, the COR and the team, evaluation team, was given instructions to make a decision and do up their notes right then and there. And
That's
so they
awesome.
would usually have the response back to us for the evaluation the very next day.
Oh, okay, got it. And so the next day, and then was there any additional going back and forth, reviewing the evaluation notes for theirs and making changes, or did you just that finalizing it once they got back to you and gave the final notes the next day?
Absolutely not. We weren't doing the back and forth. That's one of the benefits of oral presentations, that you're not going back and rethinking past decisions. Once the decision is in and it's to the CO, it's gone. It's done.
Okay, got it. That's awesome. Now, is there anything else that you learned as part of the process that you went through it?
Um, just giving ourselves more time. Even though it took us a year just to get to, award, from when we first started this, because the process was so new, there was a lot of negotiating with our internal customers first and convincing. And then the review process, because it was new to everyone up and down the chain. So we wanted to make sure all our T's were crossed and our I's were dotted. That process. But I think now that we've actually been through it, it would go a lot smoother. Um, in terms of things that we would probably do a little bit better, I think just, documenting the process and maybe reduce the number of pages that we accept, because it's such a large contract. Traditionally and in the past, they're used to having a huge um, proposal package in response to these.
Okay, got it. Now, is there anything, I guess you hit some things you would change there? Is there any recommendations that you have for people that are looking to use procurement innovations in, I guess, a future requirement?
We'll use it. Definitely use it. Meetings, I think one of the things that was beneficial to us was having access to your team and being able to talk through and kind of keeping ourselves accountable for the process and the timeline that we were on. Um, and then as far as the evaluation portion, it depends on the team, but our team was really, really good. We had a lot of expertise. So that desire to kind of go back to looking at and have to reel that in and remind yourselves that, hey, this is what we're doing and this is going to stick to that. And so there has to be someone to hold accountable. So I would highly recommend that the CO always be present.
That's awesome. Great recommendations for everyone out there. Clinice, thank you so much for stopping by, sharing your story with everybody. Great job on this particular requirement, and great job at this. We look forward to hearing more from your team as you do more innovations into the future. Well, let us
Awesome.
know what you think in the comments. Please like this video, share this video with your friends, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification button so you get all of our latest updates. Thank you for joining us, and see you all next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.